Good morning, everyone. Daily Bible reading. I'm going to read from Numbers chapter 30 today. Now, in Numbers chapter 30, Moses continues the series of instructions, the final instructions he is to give the children of Israel from the Lord before he is taken away and is replaced as the leader of the children of Israel. And here we have a chapter which deals with vows. Now, vows were an important part of worship. We're reading from Jonah on Sunday, and the sailors on the ship which Jonah was sailing on made vows after sacrificing to the Lord whenever they saw that the sea calmed after they chucked Jonah over the side. Vows were an important part of worship. People would vow to do things in order to serve God. Now, while we don't do that, we have a different prescription of worship. We understand that the worship of the Old Testament was different and that this was an important part of what they did. This talks about how vows are to be kept, and it also talks about the headship of a husband in a family and the headship of a father in a family, which is still an important principle for us. Numbers chapter 30, this is God's word. And Moses spake unto the heads of the tribes concerning the children of Israel, saying, This is the thing which the Lord hath commanded. If a man vow a vow unto the Lord, or swear an oath to bind his soul with a bond, he shall not break his word. He shall do according to all that proceedeth out of his mouth. If a woman also vow unto the Lord, and bind herself by a bond, being in her father's house in her youth, and her father hear her vow, and her bond wherewith she hath bound her soul, and her father shall hold his peace at her, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she hath bound her soul shall stand. But if her father disallow her in the day that he heareth, not any of her vows or of her bonds wherewith she shall bind her soul shall stand, and the Lord shall forgive her, because her father hath disallowed her. And if she had at all a husband, when she vowed or uttered aught out of her lips wherewith she bound her soul, and her husband heard it and held his peace at her in the day that she heard it, then her vow shall stand, and her bonds wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband disallowed her on the day that he heard it, then he shall make her vow which she vowed, and that which she uttered with her lips, wherewith she bound her soul, of none effect, and the Lord shall forgive her. But every vow of a widow, and of her that is divorced, wherewith they have bound their souls, shall stand against her. And if she vowed in her husband's house, or bound her soul by a bond with an oath, and her husband heard it and held his peace at her, and disallowed her not, then all her vows shall stand, and every bond wherewith she bound her soul shall stand. But if her husband hath utterly made them void on the day he heard them, then whatsoever proceeded out of her lips concerning her vows, or concerning the bond of her soul, shall not stand. Her husband hath made them void, and the Lord shall forgive her. Every vow and every binding oath to afflict the soul, her husband may establish it, or her husband may make it void. But if her husband altogether hold his peace at her from day to day, then he establisheth all her vows, or all her bonds which are upon her. He confirmeth them, because he held his peace at her in the day that he heard them. But if he shall any ways make them void after that he hath heard them, then he shall bear her iniquity. These are the statutes which the Lord commanded Moses between a man and his wife, between the father and his daughter, being yet in her youth in her father's house.